Ο Λύσανδρος ήρθε να μας μιλήσει για τη μουσική, πώς φτιάχνει σήμερα μουσική. Θα μας πει και αυτό συνδυάζεται κιόλας και με μερικές από τις υπηρεσίες τις οποίες προσφέρουν τα Media Lab. Και το κοινό το οποίο θέλουμε να προσελκύσουμε, πιθανόν να εμπνευστεί από το Λύσανδρο και να έρθει πιο συχνά στα Media Lab, να έρχεται πιο συχνά στα Media Lab και να χρησιμοποιεί τις υπηρεσίες. Αυτά είχα να πω. Είμαστε έτοιμοι?
Πες κι άλλα, πες κι άλλα.
Να πω κι άλλα. Μπορούμε να πάμε στο επόμενο slide. Α, δεν φαίνεται εδώ. Τώρα είμαστε έτοιμοι. Μπορώ να συνεχίσω εγώ να μιλάω.
Πες λίγα ακόμα εδώ που ετοιμάζω. Όχι, είναι μέσα στην παρουσίαση.
Ξεκινάμε.
Okay, hi. As usual, my laptop doesn't really work. So I'm just going to start. Our band is called Imam Baildi, and what we do is we take all Greek music from the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. We sample it. That means we cut off small bits of music, and with that, we try to create something new. So sampling, as I hope my first slide will show, wow, yeah, is selecting musical phrases from recorded music, extracting them, and embedding them into a new context. And this piece of machine right here that you see on the left is a sampler. And it enables you to take all these bits and pieces and use them in your own music. So I'm just gonna play one song that's really, really famous, and it's based on sampling. And I'm sure some of you have heard it. Whoa. That's a song by DJ Shadow. And do some of you know this song? Let's see hands here. Okay, good. Okay, everything you heard in this song comes from this record shop. He didn't take musicians to make it, he took records, okay? So he sampled them, and he made this new thing. And this was a revolution for the music industry. And I'm guessing that by now you're all wondering, why is this guy talking about this thing on a Future Library Conference? And the reason is that by sampling, we have the ability to take human interaction and from different people that never actually met, and put it in the same place. So you have spirits interacting, and by interacting, they create something new. So now that my laptop is working, I'm gonna demonstrate how this works, actually. So, with one of our songs. So what you see here, that's the software that we now use for sampling. So what we did for one song is this. We took, we listened to a lot of music from the 1930s and 40s, and we discovered some very, very interesting small pieces. One of them is this one. So these 3 seconds, which actually we cut off into smaller pieces, and the smaller piece is this. I'm gonna play it again because it's really, really small. So you take this thing and you fiddle with it, you play with it, you change it, and what you get is something, I mean, what we got out of doing it is something like this. I think you can recognize that something from what you heard before is in here. So that's nice. So we said, okay, let's add a beat to that. And we like 1970s beats and, black drummers, really groovy guys. So we took one of these guys. He's actually the drummer of Mr. Barry White. I'm sure all of you know Mr. Barry White, or some of you. So we took that and we put it together with a beat played by this guy, the drummer of Barry White. And this combination sounds like this. So you've got the samples we heard before with the beat by this guy. And then we added the voice of a legendary singer of the 1930s and 40s, who is called Sofia Vembo. I'm sure that all Greeks here know her. So we have all these three elements. Okay, so this is Sofia Vembo, okay, one spirit, one musical mind. We have the other band that we sampled, the orchestra, second spirit, and we have the drummer, a 1970s drummer. All these three spirits interacting into one context. So, what I'm trying to say here is that if we want something like a future library to have something to do with creation, what it needs to do, foremostly, is to have interacting spirits, okay? And this is a principle that I learned through sampling, and I learned that, nice, change of slides. Who did it? That's good. You're not seeing it, but I hope you are gonna see it. Ah, fantastic. So I'm gonna change back to my slideshow here. Good. So we are at, oh, this doesn't work. This works. As you saw, sampling allows human interaction within a digital interface. Okay, so this is what I'm trying to say here, that in a future library, if we want to create, we want to have different spirits coming together, okay? Different spirits of human people, of human beings interacting. So, it's a symbol of blending all with new. So how do we achieve human interaction? That's the question. And another question is, why should we achieve human interaction? And the reason is that human interaction is the basis of creation, okay? If you want to create something, you want to have humans interacting. Otherwise, it does not happen, okay? And the reason that human interaction is so important is that it gives you the incentive to create. I'm going to demonstrate a few ways, explain a few ways, how human interaction leads to creation. And one way is correction, okay? If you create something together with others, some of them are going to correct you. They're going to tell you, man, what you're doing is crap. You have to change it to make it better, okay? My wife does that for me, and I thank her for that. The other reason, the other incentive that is provided by human interaction is admiration, okay? You need to admire someone in order to create. And there's a very, very interesting example of admiration, how this works, the Beatles. The Beatles are four guys from Liverpool, like white, British guys. And the reason they did all this magnificent music is because they wanted to play like blacks. Okay, that's the reason. I'm not making this up. They say that. So being something you are not, admiring something, leads you to very, very important and very, very creative situations, okay? Another thing is copying and surprise, okay? I'm gonna just go on because I don't have a lot of time. But all these things are elements of human interaction that lead into creation. And you might say, okay, why do we need human interaction in a public space? Why can't we achieve the same thing in a virtual situation? Like, okay, I'm gonna log on to YouTube and I'm gonna listen to an artist that I really admire. Why do I need to be in a public place? Why do I need to be in a library or any other public space? And the reason is that when you have a real human interaction, like me talking to you, or I don't know, going to a concert instead of viewing a concert on your laptop, you have more intensity, okay? The impact of human interaction, when it is live, it is more intense. And also, it is more random, which is very, very important. Randomness is a key factor to creation. When you log on to the internet, you're going to browse on something because you have already selected it, okay? You're going to look at something because you were looking for it. When you're creating in a public space, you're going to interact with someone you don't know, and he's going to surprise you. That's where surprise comes in. Or he's going to copy you. That's where copying comes in. And all these elements lead into creation. So this is why we need human interaction in order to create. And having done this, having explained why we need human interaction, we're going to move on to saying how are we going to make sure that a creative space within a future library supplies this interaction, okay? The first thing we want to do it, if we want to create human interaction, if we want to have a creative space in a future library, is to define our target group. And because I'm going to talk about music, I'm going to explain the way that we can attract people that are interested in music, okay? So the first thing we want to do is to say, who is he not going to be? We don't want to attract, at least I think so, you know, we don't want to attract someone who has decided to have a detailed education in music. You can do this in a music school. There are a lot of music schools, okay? You can just go there, it's okay. What you need to, what the society needs, what I needed when I was younger, or what my friends needed, is generic skills, okay? Little bits and pieces of knowledge that you want, for some reason, you want to be more involved in music, and you need, for example, to learn a software. You cannot go to a music school to learn a software, a musical software, like the one I just demonstrated. You have to learn it on the internet. And this is very boring, and a lot of people would just, give it up. So it has to, all these elements, like for instance, let's say that I have a restaurant, and I want to play music for my customers. Okay, who is going to help me choose what music to play? Because it's very important. It can make them consume more or less. So it's very important. Who's going to teach me all that? These kind of generic skills, I think, are the skills that should be provided by a place like a library, so it can attract, like, let's say, in a lot of, let's say, common people, not the detailed user, not the detailed kind of knowledge that someone who needs to play the violin needs, okay? We don't want a music school. We want a library with people interested in music in it. So, what kind of needs, what kind of musical needs will a future library cover? First of all, looking for music. I find it much, much better to browse on actual CDs, to go to a record shop and look for CDs than browsing on the internet. And a library can have a CD collection, okay? This is obvious. But what it can also have is like a person who can suggest music. I mean, you're like in the old record stores, there used to be a person per sector. Like if you liked jazz, there was somebody who knew about jazz and he would suggest, okay? I think that this is something that we can have in a future library, a CD collection and a guy who suggests. This kind of situation, it's gonna bring interaction, okay? You're gonna talk with him, you're gonna talk with another guy who's also looking at similar things like you, and you will interact. This way you will end up knowing more than what you initially were planning, okay? So a CD collection, but in that way. Secondly, learning, having seminars or other kind of, whatever other way, whatever other action, in order to teach people how to play music for an audience. And I'm going to do a little survey here. How many of you have ever played music like for your friends in a party or something like that? Okay, so all of you are very, very courageous. How many have wanted to do so, but they never dared? Okay, so I never dare to play music. I find it extremely difficult, like DJ. My brother does it all the time. I fail each time. So this is something that a lot of people would like to learn, how to play music, how to choose music, how to find out more about mixing music together, what's the basic equipment, what's the basic software for doing all that. And this is also something that's really, really, really popular in younger generations. Every kid thinks that a DJ is a cool person and he wants to become that. So why not give him the opportunity in a library to teach him? Or bring a DJ, a famous DJ is coming into town, why not have him give a seminar? I think kids would be flocking in the library if you do something like that. So this is another thing. And a radio is also something that I think would be interesting. If a library had a radio frequency, that actually means that it has a radio studio in the library that's doing shows, then it would be a non-for-profit radio, which brings tremendous possibilities and also a huge buzz around the library. Imagine if, for example, you had a radio in a library and you gave a show to, you invited a known person to talk, like a football player to do his radio show. And all this happening in a library. This is probably sounding crazy to you, but I'm just, thinking out loud. Or inviting like younger kids, teenagers. Teenagers are very, very, very passionate about their music they like. Why not give them the opportunity to have a radio show? And bring them in the library, show them how the radio studio works, and give them an hour. Or invite a radio producer to teach them what it is about radio that makes it so fascinating. So a radio frequency would be something that would create a lot of buzz and would also attract younger generations. Thirdly, a space for digital skills. That is, in essence, a computer room with basic software for music and somebody that can teach this software to whoever is interested. And believe me, there are a lot of people that are interested in being more involved with music. And this way, if you have some digital skills, it's also a great way to make money, because digital technology is cheap. You can do it on your home, but at your place, So if you have it in a public space, though, if you teach it in a public space, then you will have people that want to learn the same things, interacting, and these people are going to end up working together. Fourthly, a space for rehearsal, okay? Every local community has bands of young people, and they need a space to rehearse. It would be great to have this in a public space, not to go to a secluded studio somewhere and pay 10 euros to get a place to rehearse. And number 5, according to me, a recording studio. I know you're building one in the library you're doing down in Faliro. This is great. It's very expensive to go to a studio and record your own music. If a library could provide this for free or for a minimum fee, it would do a lot in boosting the production of a local community. And the reason I'm suggesting all these things is I think that all these are facilities that would make people interact. But as I want to point out, facilities are not enough. In order to have people interact, you must focus on other things. I'm going to go quickly through that because my time is over already. And I think that what a library needs to do in order to have a creative space is to focus on its personnel. Whoever is the guy, like I told before, that suggests music to the guys that go there and want to listen to music, must be eager and communicative. Also, when you have somebody that comes and learns something in the library, try to get him to come back and share this with others. If he learns how to DJ, maybe do a party, I don't know. If he learns how to use a computer, a software for music, have him teach it to younger kids. Bring him back to the library so he can share. This way, interaction will be multiplied. And thirdly, focus on the spaces, the actual spaces that will be used for this kind of creative processes. I know you have Mr. Renzo Piano, who's obviously very, very good, so you can ask him to really, really work on how the spaces will allow people to interact, because this plays a major role. For instance, we talked before having a few rooms for rehearsal for the band. If you have these rooms somewhere, and the people that wait to get into these rooms, because there's obviously going to be reservations, like, okay, I'm going to come in at 2 o'clock and I have the room reserved for 1 hour. If you have the people waiting in another place than where the rehearsal is, the one band will never interact with the others. I say have them in the same space. This way, they're going to start communicating. They're going to start sharing their ideas. When you have people looking into a CD collection, I say have them listen to the CDs in the same place. You're going to be here, and there's going to be a person next to you listening to music. Have them close by so they can interact, they can talk, they can learn more out of this. And I want to conclude that for me, human interaction is very, very, very beneficial for creation. It's the basis of creation. And the reason I started out by explaining sampling, what I just demonstrated on, in my laptop, is because sampling allows you, I understood actually that sampling brings out this creativity, because it allows interaction between different people, between somebody you would never meet. In this music that you just heard, our piece, there was Sofia Vembo interacting with a drummer from the 1970s. Okay, in the first piece we heard, Organ Donor by DJ Shadow, it was an organ played by a children choir. And he sampled that because there was something in that he found interesting, and he combined it with other stuff. And this is a piece that people dance to in clubs all around the world. And the reason for that is because there are random spirits in it, different kind of people that would never actually meet. And he brought them together. And this brings out something creative, and when something is creative, it is interesting. So I want to end up by saying that for me, libraries have always had this potential for random interaction. Okay, we've seen in movies like people flirting in libraries, or people, eavesdropping from one corridor of books to the other. There's an element of human interaction in libraries that is very, very essential and has been there for centuries. And I think that this is the potential that, even though this is a really, really old-fashioned potential, libraries need to take this and bring it to the future. They need to take this old-fashioned thing that they have in them, an inherent old-fashioned thing, and bring it to the future. Because the future generations lack the actual tendency to interact in a human way. They interact virtually. Mr. The Burlas or Barlas, I'm sorry, I don't remember the name, he talked before, and he talked about chatting. Chatting is no longer talking, it's internet messaging. Okay, that alone says a lot about human interaction. It's virtual. It's becoming more and more virtual. We need to provide a space where this interaction is not virtual, but actual. That's my point. And we need to stop thinking about libraries as places that people go because they need to find data, information that they cannot find elsewhere, to a place that people go to meet other people that they cannot find elsewhere. Thank you.